Today I'm going to show you how to crochet these adorable amigurumi pig finger puppets. I'm going to show you exactly how to make these little pigs from beginning to end, but I'm also going to leave a link in the description box below for the written instructions. They are free for those of you who like to see what I'm doing throughout the entire project, but I'm also going to leave links for where you can purchase the ad-free PDF downloadable version in case you would like to have a hard copy for yourself. You're going to need a few supplies to be able to crochet your pigs. You're going to need yarn, obviously, and I'm using YarnArt Jeans, and this is a number 2 fine weight yarn. I also used a 2.5mm crochet hook, some Polyfil Stuffing, embroidery floss. You'll also need scissors and a yarn needle for sewing in your ends. Oh, and I almost forgot, you're going to need safety eyes, or you can embroider your eyes, but my safety eyes are 5mm, and I will leave links for all of the materials that I used in the description box below. Let's get started. For our little pigs, we are going to start at the top of the head with a magic ring, and we're going to work our way down. So grab your yarn, your hook, and let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is to make a magic ring, and if you need any help making a magic ring, I will leave a link for a tutorial that I have that explains it more slowly and in more detail. But we're going to start with 6 single crochet in a magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then I'm going to take my tail and close it. For round 1, we are going to increase in each one of these 6 stitches, and increasing just means to make 2 single crochet in each one of our 6 stitches from the magic ring. Sorry, that was my cat. And it's always tough getting into that very first stitch. So that is my first single crochet. And then we're going to make a second one right into that same stitch. Also, always mark your first stitch in the round with some type of a stitch marker. And then we're going to make 2 single crochet in each one of the remaining stitches, so that at the end of this round, we will have 12 stitches in total. Yes, Pickle. And we should have 1 stitch left here. I'm going to make 2 single crochet in that stitch to make that increase. And now I highly recommend just counting. Make sure you have 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now we're moving on to round 2, and for this round we are just going to do a repeat. We're going to do 1 single crochet, and then in the next stitch we're going to increase, and we're going to repeat that all the way around. So 1 single crochet, and I'm going to mark that, and in the next stitch I'm going to increase. And then the next stitch I'll do 1 single crochet. And then in the next stitch, I will increase again. 1 single crochet, increase. 1 single crochet, increase. 1 single crochet, increase. 1 single crochet, increase. Now, after this round, we should have 18 stitches, so make sure to count, and we will meet back for round 3. For round 3, we're going to follow a similar repeat like we did for the last round, and we're going to do 2 single crochet increase. Mark that first stitch, 1, 2, and increase, And we're going to repeat that all the way around. 1, 2, increase. 1, 2, increase. So keep that pattern up, 2 single crochet, increase all the way around, and after this round you will have 24 stitches. 1, 2, increase. After round 3, you should have 24 stitches, and we're moving on to round 4, and we're going to do another repeat. We're going to do 3 single crochet, increase. 1, make sure to mark that first stitch. 2, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, increase. And we're just going to repeat that all the way around, and then after this round you will have 30 stitches. 1, 2, 3, increase. Go ahead and finish this round, 3 single crochet, increase, and we'll meet back for round 5. After round 4, you should have 30 stitches, and we're moving on to round 5, and we're doing another repeat. We're going to do 4 single crochet, increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. Now finish that repeat all the way around, 4 single crochet, increase, and at the end of this round you should have 36 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. After round 5, your little pig should look something like this, and you should have 36 stitches. Now we're moving on to round 6. And for round 6, we're just going to single crochet in each one of these stitches. And you're actually going to do that for rounds 6 through 15. This is the fun part, when you just get to mindlessly crochet all the way around. And as long as you're keeping up with how many rounds you're doing, this is the fun part. Every once in a while, I would make sure that you still have 36 stitches. But otherwise, enjoy these rounds. So go ahead and finish rounds 6 through 15, all 36 stitches, and we'll meet back for round 16. After round 15, your pig should be looking something like this. And now we're going to go ahead and place the eyes. Now I like to turn my head upside down. The pattern says that we're going to attach the safety eyes between rounds 11 and 12. So the way we're going to count that is we're going to look at the top of the head, and this first little circle right here is actually our magic ring, and that did not count as our first round. So this little line is not going to count as number 1. We skip it, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. When we count to 11, that line right there, that's between rounds 11 and 12. So I'm going to get my safety eye. This is a 5mm safety eye. And I like to center this across the back stitch. So my back stitch, the first stitch of my round, is going to be my center point all the way across. So that's really where my little snout, the middle of my snout's going to go. My eyes are going to be between 5 and 6 stitches apart. So I'm going to go over 3 stitches. And I'm going to place my eyes. Now I'm not going to put the back on yet because I want to make sure I like my eye placement. Now I like to count up here in round 10 because I find it easier to see my stitches because one of those stitches is covered up by the eye. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to place my eye between rounds 11 and 12. And I can tell that my eyes are on the same line. And I'm liking how this looks. I think this is going to be it. Now I'm going to place the backs on my eyes because I like this placement. And I use a little tool that I have. I'll link it in the description box below. It's been a fantastic way for me to be able to add eyes because I always find the back so difficult to place on. And even with the tools, sometimes I have a hard time. If you have a hard time adding your eyes, don't feel bad. I do too. Even with the tool, I can have problems adding those safety eyes. Okay. Now we're even, and I can put the other back on. There we go. Now your safety eyes are added and we're going to move on to round 16. For round 16, we're starting our decrease rounds. And remember, from round 15, we should still have 36 stitches. But for this round, we're going to be doing 4 single crochet and then we're going to decrease. That's the first stitch, 2, 3, and 4. And I do what's called the invisible decrease, and we're going to go into the front loops of these next 2 stitches. So our single crochet stitches look like this. This is our front loop, and we're only going to go under that front loop. So we'll go under that front loop, and then we'll go to the second stitch and under that front loop as well. Now you can see that my hook is under those front 2 loops. I'm going to yarn over, pull through both of those loops, and I have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through 2. So we've taken 2 stitches and turned them into 1. Now we're going to do that same repeat. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we're going to do that decrease again right into the front loops. Yarn over and pull through both loops. And then we're just going to continue this pattern of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we will decrease again. We're going to repeat that pattern all the way around, 4 single crochet decrease, and at the end of this round we will have 30 stitches, and let's meet back for round 17. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Decrease. After round 16, you should have 30 stitches, and we're on to round 17 where we're going to do a similar repeat. We're going to do 3 single crochet decrease. 1, mark that stitch. 2, 3, and now we're going to decrease, going into those front loops of those next 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through both, yarn over, pull through both. And we're just going to continue to do that all the way around. 3 single crochet, decrease, 2, 3, decrease. Continue 3 single crochet, decrease all the way around, and after this round you will have 24 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, decrease. Before we start round 18, this is when I like to start adding a little bit of stuffing into the top of the head, because we're going to continually be decreasing and it's going to be harder and harder to add it. Now, I don't want too much stuffing in here yet because I don't want it to get in the way of my stitches. So I'm just putting a little bit here in the top. After round 17, you should have 24 stitches, and for round 18, we're just going to do 2 single crochet, decrease. 1, 2, decrease. Now, during these decrease rounds, you may have to tighten up your tension a little bit because it's natural to get some of those holes there. So I just like to kind of tighten up just a little bit. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2, decrease. So continue doing 2 single crochet, decrease all the way around, and after this round we will have 18 stitches. 1, 2, decrease. After round 18, you should have 18 stitches, and now we're on to round 19, and we're going to be doing 1 single crochet, decrease all the way around. 1, mark that stitch, decrease. 1 single crochet, and decrease. 1 single crochet, decrease. 1 single crochet, decrease. And it can feel more and more awkward. The fewer stitches we have, it just makes it a little bit harder. So go ahead and finish 1 single crochet, decrease. You will have 12 stitches at the end of this round, and we will meet back for round 20. We just finished round 19 and we have 12 stitches, and it is extremely important at this point to go ahead and finish stuffing your head. And sometimes it's better to just take out the stitch marker because it can get in the way. And I like to just make sure that my loop is big enough that there's no way it's going to pull out. I've gone ahead and mostly stuffed my head. I've left a little bit of room right here because I don't want it to get caught in my next round that we're going to do. So we're on to round 20 and we should have 12 stitches. And for this round, we're going to single crochet in each one of these stitches, but we're only going into the back loop only. And if you remember, we talked about the crochet stitch looking like this. This is our front loop. This is our back loop. So we're going to skip our front loop here, and we're only going to go under the back loop. And it will make sense why we're doing that once we get to the body. So here's my stitch, there's my 2 loops. I'm skipping this front loop and I'm going into the back loop only, and I'm going to single crochet, and I'm going to mark that stitch, and I'm just going to single crochet into the back loop of every single one of the 12 stitches from this round. And you can kind of see why I didn't want to stuff all the way to this part, because you can get the stuffing caught in the stitch and it just makes it difficult to see what you're doing. So just go ahead and go into the back loop of each one of these stitches, all 12, no decreasing. And we will meet back for round 21. Before we start round 21, I'm going to go ahead and add some more stuffing, because round 21 we're going to be decreasing all the way around and taking those 12 stitches and turning them into 6, and it can get pretty tight. So I want to go ahead and get as much stuffing as I can without getting my loop in there. And one thing that I like to do is just feel on the outside, and what that does is it helps you to notice if there's any pockets, if there's any parts on the head that aren't properly stuffed. Everything should feel pretty even. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to decrease in this round. This is round 21, and we're just going to decrease 6 times. So if you remember how we did those decreases, we go into the front loops of the next 2 stitches. So here's my front loop and my front loop, yarn over, yarn over. So now we have 1 stitch, front loop, yarn over, pull through both, yarn over, pull through both. So that's stitch number 2. Stitch number 3, and this can get a little bit hard, I know, especially when we're working with only 12 stitches in total and it's getting really tight, but just keep trying. Now we will go into the next one, front loop, front loop, tighten up, yarn over, pull through both, yarn over, pull through both. Front loop, yarn over, pull through both, yarn over, pull through both. And I'm left with 2 stitches, so this is my last one. Yarn over, pull through both, yarn over, pull through both. Now, before we close this, see if there's any stuffing that you want to add. I do have a little space here, so I am going to add just a little bit more stuffing before I close it up. This is the last chance for stuffing. Last call. I've finished stuffing my head, and it's time to close this up. Now, this is the way I like to do it. I just slip stitch into my first stitch in the round, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim, pull it all the way through. Now to close, I'm going to take my yarn needle and thread my tail, and I'm just going to go under the front loops of each one of these 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to pull it all the way and it will close, and you're going to see it's cut this little point, but don't worry about it. So I'm going to go right into the hole that created, and I'll come out here in the back of the head. I'm not going to pull too tight. I don't really want this to be a crater, but you're not going to even see it, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. And then I'm just going to go over 1 stitch, and then I'll come back down here. And then I'll go back over a stitch or so. And now I will trim that end, and we're ready to start on the body. Now that we've finished our little pig head, we're going to be working into round 20 to attach the body. Now round 20 is when we did those back loops only, and we're left with the front loops of those stitches. So we're going to be able to attach our little body right here. Now, because we're going to be changing colors, I am going to be adding my new color yarn, the body, over to the back left side right here. I'm not going to do it over here because our color change with crochet is going to lean to the right if you're right-handed. And so I'm going to start here so that my color change goes like this, and it's just the way crochet is, and I'll actually show you on this other pig. You can see here's my color change, and it goes all the way across here. It's making a diagonal. So that's why I am going to start right over here. And I'm going to start with my white yarn, and I'm just going to make a slip knot. I'm going to join to this stitch right here, this loop. And what I'm going to do is make a stacked single crochet or a standing single crochet. And you just yarn over, pull up, and now you have 2 loops on your hook. And instead of slip stitching, we're just going to yarn over just like we would a single crochet. Now I am definitely going to mark that stitch as the first stitch in my round. And I'm just going to single crochet in each one of those 12 stitches, each one of those 12 loops. And that's how we attach the body to our little piggy head. Now we have 1 stitch left, and I'm not going to complete that stitch because now I am changing colors. So that was round 1, but we're moving into round 2 right away. And to change colors, I'm just going to add my new color in. We have not completed that final stitch. I'm bringing up that loop, and now we have our new color. Now all I'm going to do is single crochet in each one of my 12 stitches. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now for this 12th stitch, I'm not going to finish it because I'm going to take my white color for round 3. One thing that I like to do at this point is to take my 2 tails. So I have one on the white and I have one from the red. And I like to just tie those together because it creates a neater and stabler change to our colors. And this is just going to be tucked inside once we get the body made. But I like how that makes it secure and it looks really neat. So now we are on to round 3. And so we've got to finish our color change from round 2. And now we're ready to move on. And for this round, we're doing 1 single crochet increase. And so that's going to leave us with 18 stitches. 1 single crochet, make sure to mark that stitch. Although it's much easier to know where your rounds change because of the color change, but I still like to mark it. 1 single crochet increase. One single crochet increase. One single crochet increase. And we have 2 stitches left. 1 single crochet increase, and I'm not going to finish the last stitch because we need to change colors. So now we're ready for round 4, and I'm just going to change my color there from round 3. And for rounds 4 through 8, we're just going to single crochet in each one of those 18 stitches. So go ahead, do rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, changing colors every round, and we'll meet back for round 9. We're on to round 9, and we are going to be doing 2 single crochet increase. So from the last round we have 18 stitches, so we're going to be going up to 24. 1 single crochet, 2, and now we're going to increase. And I'm going to repeat that pattern all the way around. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, increase. One, 2, increase. So finish that all the way around, and we will meet back for round 10. Now we are moving on to round 10, and this one we're just going to single crochet in each one of the stitches. And you should have 24 in this round. We have finished round 10 and we have 24 stitches, and now we are going to be changing our color to the brown for the base of our little pig. And we're only going to single crochet in the back loops only for this. Now I'm not going to cut my red color yet because I want to stabilize this color. So I'm going to go ahead and crochet this first round of the brown before I cut that red. But just remember, in the back loop of each one of these stitches. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut my red and my white yarns. So what I'm going to do next though is I'm going to take my tail from my red and I'm going to take my working yarn from the red and I'm going to go ahead and cut it, my working red yarn here. And I'm going to tie my tail from my brown and that working red, and I'm just going to tie them. And this would also be a good time to trim these up, weave in any ends that you want to, because we're going to continue on with our brown. I just finished weaving in all of my ends and now we're ready for round 12. And for rounds 12 through 20, you're just going to single crochet in each one of the 24 stitches. Now for this, you can make more rounds, less rounds, depending on how long you want the body. I just found that for my finger length, 20 rounds worked. So add more, take away for you. Now that we have finished the head and the body of our little pig, it's time to move on to the ears. We're going to start by making 6 single crochet in a magic ring. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Take our tail and close. For round 1, we're going to do 1 single crochet increase, and we're going to do that 3 times, and we're going to end up with 9 stitches in total. We're going to mark that first stitch. Now we're increasing. 1 single crochet, oops, increase. One single crochet and increase. Now make sure you have 9 stitches before moving on to round 2. For round 2, we're just going to do 2 single crochet increase and we're going to end up with 12 stitches. One, 2, increase. 1, 2, increase. 1, 2, and our last stitch, we're going to increase. Now for rounds 3 and 4, you're just going to single crochet into each stitch. So go ahead, do rounds 3 and 4, single crocheting into each one of the 12 stitches, and make a second one exactly like it, but make sure before fastening off that you leave a long tail so that we can use that for seaming to the head. When you finished round 4 of your ear, you can just slip stitch to that first stitch in the round, but leave a long tail for seaming to the top of the ear. You've got your 2 ears, but we're just going to set them aside for the moment, and we're going to make all of the other parts, the snout, the arms, and the bow tie. I feel like it's so much better when we just join everything at the same time. So we're going to go ahead and make the snout, and you're going to need your pink yarn. We're going to start with our slip knot. And we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. For round 1, we're going to start in the second chain from the hook, and we're going to make 2 single crochet over the next 2 stitches. So 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. The next stitch is that last stitch, which was the first stitch in our chain, and we're going to make 3 single crochet in that last stitch. And then you just want to take your tail and just tighten it up here. Now we're going to be working on the other side of the chain. So this is how we started. We made our 3 single crochet in that last stitch, and we're turning our work upside down. And you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to mark the first single crochet. Shame on me. I'm going to do it now. So now we have 2 stitches left. These are the bottom of those chains. And in that first bottom of that chain, we're just going to make 1 single crochet. And in the last stitch right here, we're going to increase. Just make 2 single crochet. So now we should have 8 stitches, and I highly recommend going ahead and counting it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. For round 2, we're starting with an increase. So we're just going to make 2 single crochet in that first stitch. Next, we're going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2. Then we're going to do 2 increases. So in this first stitch, we're going to increase. In the next stitch, we're going to increase. Now we should have 3 stitches left, and in that first stitch, we're just going to do 1 single crochet. In the next stitch, 1 single crochet. And in our last stitch, we're going to increase. And after this round, we should have 12 single crochet. And let's make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now for round 3, we're just going to single crochet in each one of the stitches, but we're going to do it in the back loop only. And remember, our crochet stitches look like this. This is the front loop and this is the back loop. So we're just going to go into that back loop all the way around, all 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now it's going to want to curl in on itself, so we're just going to make sure it's right side out. And we're going to go ahead and slip stitch to the first stitch in the round. We're binding off now. And I want to leave a long tail so that we can use this to seam it to our little pig. The one thing that I am going to do now is to embroider those two little lines that are right here on the snout. It's so much easier to do when the snout is not attached. This is embroidery floss, and I only am using 2 strands of that embroidery floss. I've separated them out because I find that when you use all 5 strands, it's just a little too bulky. And if you notice on my little snout, there is a hole here from one of those increases, but you know what? A little thing like that doesn't bother me. So I'm just going to take my needle, if I can get it in here, and I just want it to go as straight across as possible. That's one of the best things when you are doing something with embroidery, is if the lines are very straight, it helps a lot. And let's see, there we go. There we go. Now we're going to move on to the arms, and we are going to be starting with the pink yarn, and we're just going to make 6 single crochet in a magic ring. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We'll close that magic ring. And for the first 2 rounds, we're just going to single crochet in each one of those stitches. Make sure to mark that first stitch. Two, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And at this point, it's wanting to curl in on itself. I just use my little tool that I use to stuff with and start to make sure that it is going right side out. It just makes it easier when you're crocheting. There we go. For round 2, we're just going to single crochet in each one of these stitches. And it can be a little bit tricky when you only have 6 stitches in the round, but just do your best. It's just a finger puppet. It's going to be okay if it's not perfectly neat. And nobody will notice those mistakes but you. That was 4. We have 5 and 6. Now, for this stitch, I'm not going to complete it because we're going to start changing color for the sleeves. So for rounds 3 through 13, all we're going to do is single crochet in each one of the stitches, but we are going to alternate red and white, red, white, red, white, or if you're doing green, or whatever color you've chosen. So that's all we're going to do. So for rounds 3 through 13, just single crochet in each one of the stitches, and if you want to alternate your colors like we did for the little shirt on the body, you can do that as well. Now I'm not going to finish this because I'm going to add in my white. Now, one thing to note is that we're not going to stuff the arms at all. I have one that I've already made right here, And the only thing that we're going to do is when we trim off our ends, we're going to stuff them down into the arm, and that gives it a little bit of structure. It's fuller down here, but this is just those tails. I did not add any stuffing at all. And you definitely don't want anything stuffed up here because otherwise the arms are going to stick out like this. So we want the arms to lay nicely. Now that you've made all 13 rounds in total, we're going to slip stitch to that first stitch, fasten off, but we're going to leave a nice long end here, our tail, so that we can seam this to the body of our little piggy. So I'm going to trim all of these ends up and then stuff them down. There we go. And go ahead and make a second one, and then we're going to go ahead and start attaching all of these little parts to our pig. The first thing that we're going to attach is our little snout. Now I'm just going to tuck the tail inside. We're not going to stuff this, but the tail will be plenty stuffing enough. And I like to line it up with the eyes so that it is almost touching those eyes. So if you can kind of see, it actually is attached above the eyes right here in the center. But I do recommend using pins for this part so that it just makes it a lot easier so that it's not moving all around. As you can see, I spend a lot of time making sure that the snout is in the right place. And as I'm looking at this, I am going to end up changing my embroidery right here because I can see that I did not do it very well. But I'm going to do that at the end. This is okay. I can still fix that. So never feel like things are not fixable. They really are. But I do like to spend my time getting the positioning of the snout right before I begin attaching it. Okay, I'm happy with the placement of the snout now. So now I have threaded my tail and we're going to go ahead and start joining our little snout. And one of the things that I really like to do is to look which direction is my yarn going. We were crocheting around this way, so the yarn is going to want to go this way. And I'm going to go underneath those loops of the stitch right there. And then I'm going to go under the loop. And now I'm going to go under this stitch that's directly below. And I'm just going to pick up that stitch right there. Now I'm going to go up, but I'm only going to catch that back leg of, the back leg of that stitch. No, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, no, I am. Look here. Yeah. Now I'm going to catch that front loop here. So we have our back loop of our stitch. So you can look at our stitch right here. Here's our back loop and our front loop. I'm going to go right into that front loop. And then I'm going to catch the front loop on the next stitch. And I'm going to go right down into the body and go across one of the stitches. Then I'm going to find another front loop that's directly above where my stitch is. And go to the next stitch. Just that front loop. And then I'm going to go down into the body, catch a stitch, and then come back up right where my yarn is, just catching the front loop, going over one into that front loop, and then going straight down. I find that this method makes it almost impossible to see where we have joined the body parts. I've experimented a lot with this and tried lots of different ways of doing it, and this seems to be the best way for me to keep those stitches as hidden as possible, those seams, I mean. Moving one stitch at a time. And you can also begin to remove your pins if they're getting in the way. I will go back up in that front loop. Almost did the back loop. And this is where, and this is the area where we started. And then if you need to go around more than once, you need to make it more secure, you can at this point. So yeah, I can see that I'm going to need to redo my embroidery here. It's just not quite even enough, and well, that's not bad. If I just play around with it a little bit, I might need to remove that one and just add the little stitch there. And now I'm just going to take my yarn to the back. And don't pull this too tight, otherwise you could get a little bit of puckering here. And just shape the little snout with your hands. It really does make a difference what you can do with your own hands, just shaping after the toy is already made. There we go. And then if you ever end up with the little end sticking out, just take the back end of your needle and swipe across like this, and then the little end is inside the stuffing. Now our little piggy is beginning to look so cute, and I'm going to take this tail from our ears. If I didn't already mention that, we're starting the little ears, and depending on how much of this tail I have will depend on whether or not I trim it up a little bit or if it's okay. Yeah, this will be okay. So I'm also going to spend a good amount of time making sure that I'm putting the ears exactly in the right place, because I would rather spend extra time figuring out placement of parts than having to rip things out and re-sew them on. And I definitely want my tail on the end. So when you have this folded where your last round, you want your end, your tail here on the side. Now, one of the best ways to figure out if you're even is to look at it from the top. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. And I am laying these flat against the head. I just like the look of it, but if you want yours to stick up, you can do that as well. But I think this looks really, really cute. Yes. Now I'm just going to seam these to the head. I'm going to do this Similarly to how I added the snout, where my yarn is, I'm going to go right down into that stitch right below, pick up one, and now I'm actually going to go through all the loops from the front to the back of that edge from the ear. Come right up. Then I'm going to go down through the front loop and the back loop of all of those stitches. So there's 2 stitches, the back edge and the front edge here. Then come back down, pick up a stitch, Now when you get to this end, it can be tempting to just go back down into the side of the ear, but you're going to notice that. So there's one little stitch right here, and I'm going to go over the one leg of it, go under the other leg of that stitch to hide it. And now I'm much closer to the head right here. So the goal is to always try to hide, oh no, I had one attached to the pin. So let's see if I can pull this to fix this problem. This is actually good that this happened right now, so that way I can show you how we're going to fix this. Let's see. Okay, so this is not going to pull. So I actually need to pull this out. There we go. There we go. That was an easy fix. So don't panic if that happens to you. You can just fix it, undo it, redo it. I redo things so often. You would be very surprised how often I will redo things just to make it look right. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find that little stitch right here, go under one of the legs. And now I'm actually going to go back into the body. I'm going to go all the way across and make sure that this is all really, really secure. Once you've got one ear done, go ahead and sew the second ear on, and we're going to meet back to do the arms. Now we're going to go ahead and sew our little arm to our pig. I always like to have my yarn tail on the side of the arm. Just makes it a lot easier. And we're going to match up our stripes. So our top round here is in red, so I'm going to stitch it to this red stripe right here on the shirt. And I want this to be on the side of the body. I don't want it too far forward, too far back. It just helps to take a moment to make sure you're stitching it right to the side. And this is super simple. Just pick up a stitch from the body, and then I just go through those stitches underneath those legs all the way across. Go back through the front to the back of the arm. This isn't quite as neat and nice because it really just doesn't need to be. It will look just fine. And I will go back a couple of times and make sure that the arm is super secure to the little pig. There we go. And then I'm going to take my yarn down through the arm and come out on the back through a red stripe there so that we still don't see it. So we've got one arm down. Go ahead and attach your other arm, and then we will make the bow tie. So now we're going to make our little bow tie, and I'm using the green color, and I'm going to leave a bit of a tail to help me to secure the bow tie to the front of the shirt. And I started with a slip knot. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to be working a double crochet into our first chain. So it's the third chain from the hook. So we're going to make a double crochet into that first chain. And we're going to make another double crochet right into that first chain. Now we're going to chain 2. And we're going to slip stitch back into that same space. Now we're going to chain 2 again, 1 and 2. Then we're going to double crochet right back into that same space. We're going to be working everything into that same space. Double crochet, make another double crochet. And now we're going to chain 2. And we're going to slip stitch into that space. Now I'm going to tighten up by pulling my tail here, and I'm going to go ahead and fasten off. Now I'm going to take our back tail, not the one from the front that we just secured off with, but the one that we started with, and I'm going to wrap it around our little bow tie here. Just a couple of times. And pull it tight. Now I'm going to thread my needle. Now I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go back and forth across where I just wrapped the yarn around the little bow tie, because I want to secure this so that it's not floppy and that it looks really nice and neat. And I'm working on the back side of, there we go. Perfect. Now I can use this to add the little bow tie right onto the front of the shirt. And this is super fiddly work right here, I know. The good news is that you won't see any of this on the back side because it's all behind our little bow tie. looks super cute. And I'm going to go ahead and take care of this one as well. I left this tail probably a little bit too long here. I'm going to trim that off, but I would always rather have more tail than not enough. Now, if I need to bring my yarn back to the back, because if I just secure right from the front, it's going to look kind of messy. So now I've taken my yarn to the back and I'm going to secure it a couple of times to the body, and that way the little necktie is extra secure. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and weave in my ends here. And let's get ready to make the suspenders. All right, now we're going to make our suspenders. And the way that we're going to do this is we are going to make a slip knot. And I've done this a couple of different ways, and I find that the best way is to turn our little piggy to face away from us. And we're going to be working into the front loop of our round right here before we change to the brown. The way that I like to do this, it's not super scientific, but I'm looking for that stitch that is directly below our arm seam right here. So it looks like it's going to be right about here. Going to attach it right into that spot, and we are going to make a slip stitch. Now, I have found for my tension, my hook, and my yarn size that 18 chains is the perfect amount to be able to cross over. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Now I'm going to be looking for that seam that is directly below the arm seam, and so it's right here. But for this, and we're just going to slip stitch it. If you need more chains, less chains, just make as many chains as you need to be able to make it nice and secure, and so that the suspenders sit nicely across the shoulders. You don't want them too tight where you're having to stretch really far, but you also don't want it super loose. And this is the part that can be a little bit tricky, getting this secured with a slip stitch. And I try to hold that stitch, the stitch that's nearest on my hook, down so I can pull it through without splitting the stitch. There we go. So we've got our little suspender. So go ahead and do that on the other side and weave in these ends. I hope you enjoyed crocheting your very own amigurumi pig finger puppets. Make sure to tag me on Instagram and Facebook at Elise Rose Crochet because I would love to see yours.